Welcome. My name is Leanna Marshall, and I'm one of the committee members for Walking with Our Sisters Thunder Bay. And as Isabel was singing the song, I was talking during the song and talking to my friend Esther and saying, I feel really overwhelmed right now. And it's overwhelming because this is such an amazing turnout, and I just wanted to say thank you for taking the time out of your lives to sit here with one another today. This is just really beautiful, and I just want to say thank you for being here today. So what we've organized, the committee has been meeting just for a couple months, and we met. We had a final meeting regarding Walking with Our Sisters, and the enthusiasm and the need came from the committee and from the community saying, what's next? What do we need to do next? We want to do more. Walking with Our Sisters really touched our community in a lot of really profound ways, and we really wanted to build on the momentum of that healing, that community healing that we shared together. And so we decided to have a conversation and to put it back to the community to see how we can to see what was important to you, to us. So we're not dictating on the behalf of the community. It's really important that it comes from the people. And so in the spirit of today, we're gonna continue with the guiding principles of Walking with Our Sisters. And the first, and they're all on a poster on your table. And so the first one is, when we come together with love and kindness. The second one is humility. And so this comes from ceremony, that when we're together, we're all equal. There's no hierarchy in this group of people. There's a lot of people here who have big, important jobs and do some really amazing work in our community. But when we come together, we take our work hats off and we come together as people, as individuals, not as the organizations that we represent. The third principle is protocol, is following the cultural protocols of the territory. And the fourth principle is volunteerism, that everyone that's involved with Walking with Our Sisters, we do it out of love and out of a need to want something different in our community. Nobody gets paid for anything that's with Walking with Our Sisters, and that's really important. So I think the bigger picture of how we envisioned today and the whole intention that lies behind today is to kind of talk about, well, it is to talk about what's important and what we need to do in our community. And at the end, our goal is to have a community action plan. And so, you know, I think we can spend a lot of time talking, but our committee, we like to get stuff done. And so we wanna leave here with a community action plan, and we want to put it back to you and say, what do you want and what are you willing to do? And it could be a small commitment, it could be a bigger project, but it's really, at the end of the day, we really want to have something that we can work with. Logistically, Kara and Monique are going to pass out a sign-in sheet because we want to keep track of everyone that is here today, and so we can stay in communication in terms of what the next steps are going to be after today, and so we can kind of follow up with what people have committed to do, and we can come together at another gathering down the road. Today is International Women's Day, so this is a really special day as well. And when we were talking at a committee level, we were thinking of November, the next big date is November 25th, which is the United Nations Day of Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls. And so we want to use that next date as a time to work towards. So that'll give us, what is that, 7, 8 months to really pull some stuff together as a community and really figure out what are we going to do and how are we going to do it and to do it. So I think I've covered that. Okay. I would like to introduce Esther Rangera, who is going to be the well, we're going to be co-facilitating today, but I'll be following her lead. So, Miigwech, thank you for listening.
Miigwech to everyone for coming and taking the time, and to all the sisters and volunteers that have been making this possible to make it happen. Also, thanks to Fort Williams and for being on the traditional territory and nation. I'm here to help assist with process, so my role is to give you a glimpse into what this dialogue is going to look like. We've set it up as a World Cafe, and we're really encouraging you all to share your ideas, your thoughts and feelings on the papers in front of you. We're going to move through a short segment to check out what are your hopes and expectations, and out of that we'll create some theme tables for people to go to various tables around the room and to get into a deeper conversation about what does this mean for you and what are some things we want to see happening in our community. Yeah.
We're just going to move down lower.
So it's really about engaging in that conversation, a chance to share ideas, and we're also going to invite all the people in the back to come to the tables and to draw, share your voices, share those ideas. My role is really as a timekeeper, so I'm going to ask for permission to ring some bells and have some very strict timelines where we can then report back what we're hearing from the table discussions. Okay? So this really is a chance to not only hear your voice, but to capture it in such a way where we can move it forward. As Leanna was saying, Walking with Our Sisters, we want to see action happening. There's a lot of concerns in our community, and we also want to celebrate all the successes. And that comes from everyone here in this room and what you have to offer. So what I want to begin with is asking you, what are your hopes and expectations for this next 3-hour segment? What do you want to see happening? And out of that, we'll develop some theme tables.
Yeah. Possibly, we need to help change this with that. People in general, to write up possibly all the new laws and to send them into Parliament and hopefully that they be voted on so that they can be presented. Like one of mine is that because of the way my daughter had passed away a month and a half ago, and I spoke to the police officers, the detectives, in regards to what she had stated to me, what had happened to her. And I believe that a law should be made so that it comes to first-hand information which results in the death of a person, that should be accounted for, as I was told by the detectives, because what my daughter told me is not admissible.
Okay, so there's going to be a theme around laws creating change and support. And also I'm hearing a little bit around support for families. Is that? Okay, so any other hopes and expectations? It's going to be a quick brainstorm. What else would you like to see discussed today? Yes?
That men see women as their absolute equals.
Any others? So a table for, and I want to hear voices that haven't spoken. I'm going to come back, I'm going to go here and here, and then here.
Educational strategies.
Educational strategies. Great.
The second one there, men see women as equals, also as life givers.
Awesome.
As life givers. So there's a point here, I got that one in the here. No, you did yours? Okay, here.
So that Thunder actually initiates some public dialogues, like constantly. Should be happening all the time. Different groups that are not traditionally or normally at the table.
All the time. Okay,
And
great.
so follow with the microphone.
Perfect. Was there one over here that I didn't capture? Here, and then I'm going to come back to you, sir. Here? Yeah?
Engaging youth and how we can build connections between people of all ages.
Engaging youth of all ages.
Along the theme of equality also, we should be working towards eliminating discrimination of all forms.
Work towards
whether
eliminating
racism,
discrimination.
racialization, sexism, classism, and so on. Right? I mean, after all, that's what our democratic ideals are for anyway. So we need maybe to hold people and institutions accountable for that.
And to hold people accountable for that. Great. Did I miss one there here, sir?
I think maybe it's time to start acknowledging what's happening in our backyards in our community because of the result of residential schools from the 1800s, the abuses that were endured by them, and that this is what was brought back to us. Why I state this? Because this is what happened to me as a child. And it's time to start acknowledging and start looking at it and quit blaming everything else.
Okay.
We gotta look at our own communities and start dealing with our own people.
Look in our own communities. Great. And one of the pieces that you just mentioned, which is such an important part of this community conversation, is that we're here to honor the principles with Walking with Our Sisters. This conversation is not a shame-blame game or an opportunity for debate. It's really a chance to share ideas, explore what you want to see happen, and come and move forward with those action plans. So did that capture it for you there with the acknowledgement? Was there anyone else? Yes, over here.
We were just talking on the way up here. There's a lack of data on missing and murdered Aboriginal women in general, and that needs to be addressed before. The data has to be, properly collected and analyzed, because right now it's not being done so with Aboriginal women. And until that's done, then moving forward, you're kind of doing it in a blind fashion, and you're not being able to back it up with some of the hard data that's available for non-Aboriginal populations in this country.
Okay, so we go on the data, the stats. I see a hand here. We'll get 2 more hopes and expectations before we move to theming. There's a gentleman in the back there and here. Great.
Just how we ensure that girls, youth, women are safe on our streets, are able to feel that safety in their own community when they're out walking or doing anything. Where is that thought that they can be attacked or hurt by violators?
Feel safe.
Yeah. And change that thinking that when a woman is.
Sorry, change thinking of.
How do we change the thinking, or that women aren't targets of violence?
Okay, so something, a theme in there on targets of violence, and change that. Yes, sir.
I hope that we can find a way to recognize why we're here, which is that men, particularly white men, victimize women, and find a way to shift the responsibility for dealing with this issue from women to men, because we're the ones that are creating the problem and causing the problem. We wouldn't be here today if it weren't for men perpetrating that violence, and that ties into a lot of systemic issues that are going on. But I think we have to recognize those and find a way to have men move forward today, leaving here with an action plan for how they're going to go out to other men and not allow there to be safe spaces for violence against women.
Great. Do you see some themes starting to arise? Here, and I missed one over here. Yeah?
So my hope is that within all of these conversations, our trans and two-spirit community members are included.
And that we might support each other and gain knowledge and abilities about how to engage with our neighbors. I am so appreciative of the comment by our brother about males and change. And we have events and gatherings, and then we have to go home, and how to do this right next door with our neighbors and our families.
Okay, wow, the ideas are really flowing, and we're going to want you to transfer those onto your pages, because we've got some hopes and expectations and some themes, and this is really a chance to really spark that discussion. So,
What about teaching our children?
Teaching our children.
Our youth and our kids, to let them know that violence is against women and kids and whatever, against it, you know. And then also to let the North know, all the chiefs should know all what's going on here in the city, so they can let the women up north know what's going on.
Great. Okay, I've got one more, and then sure.
I just want to learn how to, as a community, empower our young women. You know, a lot of our young women, especially women who are vulnerable, who have been living a horrendous lifestyle, sometimes move into positions of vulnerableness, which makes them easy targets. So how do we empower? How do we work together to build esteem in our young women?
And teach our young men how important that is.
Maybe possibly too that communities, since they got chief and counselors, maybe put a PowerPoint presentation within their communities to educate their people. Like, you don't need money for everything. It's not hard to get on a laptop and throw that together and go into your community and do that.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
I would like to see us examine the image of women in cinema and media, newspapers, whatever. I think women are being portrayed a lot of times as sex objects and lesser beings, and I think we really need to come down hard on that.
Okay, is it okay if we park some of those ideas? So what kind of themes did you hear emerging out of those hopes and expectations? We're going to set up some theme tables. So I'm going to give you a sense of what that might look like, and then invite everyone to come to the tables, whichever area resonates most with you, any area that you think you want to contribute in. We're going to give you the opportunity to move around from one table to the next, as you choose. What becomes really important is sharing of those ideas, capturing it on the flip charts in front of you. So we invite you to draw, doodle, write down any words. And then after about 25 minutes of the first round, we'll ring some bells and get people from the tables to call out 3 key points you'd like the rest of the community to hear. 3 key points. So I have a hand here and a hand here.
Are you in the process of identifying the themes? I think education should be one of the first one to tackle, because without changes to the anterior curriculum, for example, we are never going to achieve the structural changes that we need.
Thank you. Can I get another flip chart up here with paper? I don't want to mark it. So one of the theme groups is education. Oh, sorry, over here, and then
I just added on to the suggestions of our brother. The curriculums that are taught in the schools are not accurate. They told the history of Canada the way it really, really was. They might understand why the stepping back of the Anishinaabe people, or any people who have been discriminated against or harassed. And the other thing I was going to say to the people in the back, you may have to carry your chair with you to your table if you want to sit down. Like which?
Great, thank you. Here was a theme.
Your theme, mindset change.
You hear a theme?
Mindset change. I'm sorry, mindset change?
Mindset change. So set the theme table, mindset change. Anything else? Yes, sir.
Political changes.
Political changes.
Workshops.
I'm misspelling that. Changes. Workshops.
And teachings.
Men. Children?
Judicial system.
Yes?
Media. There's a lot of video games.
And I was recently listening to a radio program where there was a full female group, a company that began producing their own video games, and the abuse and harassment and threats on their life. Yeah. She knows what I'm talking about. So I think education is important, but we also know that our children are influenced by media, as well as adults. So I think that's a critical area.
Okay. All right, this is going to be the last point for themes, and then we're going to actually get to those tables.
To bring awareness for drugs and alcohol when people are mixing everything, like the methadone, the drugs, and the alcohol. And that's where I think where people are going wrong when they're mixing these things. And they don't know what, like I said, where it all goes, where they have no hope.
Too late. Okay, so some of the social indicators there. All right, a couple of the other themes that were shared earlier. Importance of how we see each other, the Thunder Bay Dialogue. So commitment from the Thunder Bay Dialogue and community. We've got that piece around education and history, looking in our own backyards and community. And the importance of the data, assessing the data appropriately. What does that look like? Some of the systemic pieces. So, does that work for you in terms of a series of discussion topics at each table? Yeah? Okay. All right. So, given the things that come out, and we're not stuck to these things, we're going to allow it to go wherever it needs to, depending on who's at your table and what they need to see heard and said. We've got a number of host facilitators that are going to help assist in not only recording and capturing the information, but at the end of our timeline, we'll invite you to share 3 key points from each of those theme areas of what you want to bring back to this larger group and community. Some of these themes that were identified at the last bit may be shared in other groups, and you may find that once your group comes together that there's something else that's really important speaking to you at that time that you want to include. So this process will allow the flexibility for you to do so. Include and contribute in ways that you want and see how you can move things forward. And what are you prepared to do as a community member to ensure that all members in our community feel safe and secure as we wander through our community.
So Esther, what I'm doing is going around putting on tables those things. There's been an idea from a community member that we may have to cluster because these things are really broad.
Yes.
Esther, I'm just throwing this out here, no is okay, but if we put men, women, and children into multiple voices, that might give that table more to work with.
Great suggestion. How do the others feel about that suggestion? Does that work for you? Let's go with it. Excellent. We'll go with it.
I don't understand.
The suggestion was whether or not we wanted to blend a couple of the theme tables together so that it wasn't just men, women, and then children, to incorporate all of those into one theme table. So I do hear the other piece that was shared earlier about the importance of men's contribution in the community, so that may end up being a separate discussion group. We'll really allow that to flow from the community that has come here. Okay? So, now is your chance to go and explore an area or a topic that you feel really passionate about. Again, it's all under the bridge of how do we create a safe community given the things that we've been witnessing, given the concerns and the fears that people have. And each group will end up honing into a particular theme set. As a community dialogue, you have the permission to move around the room, but what's important is how do we contribute and what are we going to do to move this forward? Okay?
So there's a lot of people here and there's not a lot of tables here. So, sorry, there's a lot of people and there's not a lot of tables here. So we just invite you to bring your chairs. I've put the themes on different tables. You may have to cluster as well. There's a room over to the left of us, and there's 3 rooms outside this door that people can go and cluster in as well.
Okay, so this is your chance to get up, move around, find another table,